Anytime I would do an open house, I would actually use the hostage negotiation techniques of building rapport that I learned as a cop into the real estate world. So a lot of the negotiations when you're speaking to somebody off a bridge or, some other terrible circumstance is what's called active listening. So the problem I see with realtors is they want to prove themselves right away. I didn't know any better. What I did was when somebody walked in, I would have team active listening. I used all the same skills I did when I would talk to somebody on the street. And what happened was they would tell me what they needed without me actually having to ask. It's time to build rapport. You need to know what is important to them, at least the defined role of who they are and morally what they love. Only then can you ask a question, some sort of decision making. Anytime I would do an open house, I would say like, what'd you think? Just to get them to say something. And then I would take bits and pieces of that.
You're listening to the number one real estate podcast in the world, where we talk with real estate professionals all across North America about their wins, losses, lessons, stories, help you win in your local market today. My name is Cody from Sheridan Street. I'm joined with Vikram Deol of the Real Estate Sales Academy. Vikram, we had a little fun in the green room, and I'm blushing. For anyone that's back on YouTube, might see me and they might be like, "Oh, he's very rosy today." But how are you doing, my friend?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. I'm missing my boy because you're in Canada. I mean, you're still in a place that starts with a C, but you're not like up the street. Yesterday, I was like, oh, I wonder what Cody's doing. And then I'm like, oh shit, like I can't actually just be like, yo, come meet me for a bite. It was like hilarious that you're so far. So yeah, missing you a little bit, bro.
Yeah, it's strange being back in Canada after I haven't been in Canada probably since. Well, I guess I was home in a little bit of February, but I haven't spent much time here over the last couple of years. So
no,
it's different, between the U.S., Colombia, Argentina, Latin America, all over the place. But what's exciting in business right now? What are you working on?
I was just about to ask you that question. Why don't you go first, Cody?
Okay. Yeah, a big thing that we're doing right now is our free trial. We're sending, that's been massive for us. It's something that Serrano told me to do 4 months ago. I didn't listen to him, and I should have. Sometimes things take a little bit of time to click in, but I think that we're now ready in order to scale up the offer. So essentially what we're doing is we are doing live transfers, and we're actually showing agents that the proof is in the pudding. They can test out our system totally free. We'll take their database, we'll call their leads, and we will actually show them how our ISA service works. So people are pretty impressed so far of kind of how the process works and how, it's kind of like a Zillow type of experience where we call their lead, we qualify them, we then patch them live into the call. We are using all of Serrano's scripts to essentially convert them into an in-person meeting. And it's pretty cool. The reason that we're doing it is because I know that if I get them 3, ideally they're going to book 2 to they should be able to book 1 to 2 in-person meetings as long as they use the script, and then the proof is in the pudding. And our calls now with agents are literally becoming consulting calls. So they get on the call with me and they're like, do you want, I literally say, do you want an ISA or do you need to run ads? And they tell me, hey, I just want an ISA. Okay, cool. It's this price. So the sales resistance has immediately dropped. And I've been thinking a lot about this, even with our clients, about creating an irresistible offer. So even with that irresistible offer, now our agents, when they come through the door, they're like, oh, I get it. You did it. And that's why you're doing it. I need to do this for my business as well. But that's been huge for us. It's been a really big focus. We're talking with a lot of really cool teams that we haven't chatted with before. But how about you, man?
Yeah, man, that's awesome. And I know that the people that are in your program are getting massive results, which I think is awesome because, it's hard. Real estate's hard, and if you can get any leverage point up there, it makes life easier. Our business is great, bro. We are about 5 months ago now, we pivoted from the Real Estate Growth Academy to just really creating the Real Estate Sales Academy, because at this point, a lot of people are struggling to book appointments, and they're really struggling to convert those appointments because they're staying super surface level with the prospect. They're asking, I was looking at a big named coach's script, and, they did a case study on one of their expireds, this guy who's, setting a ton of expireds, and the questions were still really surface level. And it was still hey man, thanks for taking my call. I'm excited to chat with you today. And yeah, if you make enough dials, that works. But like if somebody called me and I just had my house go off the market because it didn't sell and I really needed to move, and somebody was like, hey, thanks for taking my call and super excited and pumped up, I'd be a little pissed. Or if somebody told me like the day after my property came off the market, a listing that expired, and they said to me, hey, I have a buyer because 9,000 agents call you the day your property goes off the market, and there's 8,500 new buyers all of a sudden that enter the market at your exact price point that want a 4-bed, 3-bedroom house in your neighborhood. You're like, something ain't added up here, right? And then you show up to the house and it's like, you're already out of integrity. You're lying. So one of our clients who just joined, who you actually worked with a couple of years ago, is starting to follow the process, the scripts, the tonality, the language, the cadence. And, sometimes it takes people a long time to figure it out, right? Like some people are quicker, some people aren't. And when you're getting told conflicting messages from your brokerage or from your mentors that have done it a certain way for 40 years, like, well, yeah, of course that worked for you 40 years ago. Your consumer is still in that boat, but the modern day consumer, right? Kids these days are using Chat GPT and they're like, we know everything that you guys do. Like there's no more like secrets, but the one thing that Chat GPT can't do is that it can't it can't mimic the human empathy portion. It can't give you that like personalized touch where your conversations might be scripted, yet you can go deep with people. You can have great conversations. You can still make it authentic to them once you learn the frameworks. And, that's what our guest on the last call said. He's like, I'm using the frameworks you're giving me and we're getting results. He's like, so why would I change it? He's like, and then if I did change it, I wouldn't be able to say, well, hey, we used your framework, but we didn't get any results. If you're not using the framework, how do you model it? It's like if somebody's throwing a 3-pointer and you're throwing a free throw, well, you should have different, percentage that go into the basket. So just like having better conversations and seeing people win is like, it's really cool.
I think, yeah, and I love seeing people win. I love seeing people win that use, follow the process. And you said something that really is important. And I think that our guest today can really speak to that based on how he's getting his business. But the market is what you're saying in a roundabout way is the market's more sophisticated. Yeah. And I heard this last week. I'm like, the people in the market are more sophisticated. They have more information. Now that because they have so much information, our job as real estate agents is to take that information, boil it down to their specific circumstance, and be the trusted advisor that allow them to make the best possible decision for themselves. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to intro Trey. Trey is with Real, has a team of 3 and a bunch of 3 agents, and then a bunch of admin and support staff out of the Texas area, San Antonio area. Yeah. And Trey, why don't you give us kind of high level overview on kind of who you are, how long you've been in the real estate business. You mentioned that you've been with Real for the last 2.5 years. Just really want to kind of hear, 30 seconds, how did you get into the real estate business? I know that you mentioned you were a cop prior to, what I guess, what made you decide to get into this?
Absolutely. No, it's actually my favorite question when they say why the hell did you go from being a cop to being a realtor? And it's a very easy answer. Her name is Karen. So let me tell you real quick about the story of Karen.
Which Karen? Which Karen?
No, it's that Karen. It's that Karen, the HOA Karen. So funny story. I was working nights in the police department, just sleeping during the day, working at night. And my wife and I sold a little condo we had. It was a horrible experience. She never called me back. She just didn't know how to explain contracts. It was the worst ever. So I'm like, this lady is, not potentially getting into gunfights every day. So why is this so hard to communicate? So basically I said, well, if Karen can do this, I'm going to do this. I'll help a couple buddies a year. And then I did it 2 years while I was a cop. And I closed 55 houses in 1 year as a part-time agent. So much so that I had to hire an admin.
Wait. Hold on. You did 55 houses while still working nights on the beat.
Yep. Exactly right.
First off, bro, holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's break into this. Like, so where did these 55 people come from? Were they like just your friends, your family, other cops? Like, where did these
So,
people
I mean,
come from?
for anyone listening, it really is just boiling down to your niche. So my niche at the time was 100% first responders, and only because I would go to trainings, I would go to events, people how I worked on my shift. And I just zeroed down literally on that. I had zero social media, zero followers, no nothing, never did video. I couldn't even really have a Facebook because of, the unit I was on and stuff. I couldn't, be showing things. So I just went all in on in-person relationships, and I just did as many open houses as I could. And I just started to produce content. That's it.
Okay. Cody, I want to go down the open house route, and I know you want to go down the content route as well. What's your? I love open houses, bro. I think open houses are like so easy if you know what you're doing, and like if you're listing an open, if it's your listing, and your market allows you, and you get good at open houses, like listening and reading body language, you can still double in deals in this market, and there's no reason why you shouldn't represent the seller, but write the offer for the buyer and do a great job and get paid twice because you're the one that was going out and marketing the property and all this. So I loved open houses. The last open house I did, I found that it was 4 years previous. Like I did an open house in 2021 and I found the buyer for that property and got both deals on a 1.7 and a kicker bonus because I told him if I get them over a certain price, I want a 1% bonus. And they're like, we'll give you 0.75. I'm like, sign the contract. We're done.
That's awesome.
What is your process, my friend, for one, how do you capture information? And two, what do you do with that information?
Absolutely. So I would actually use the hostage negotiation techniques of building rapport that I learned as a cop into the real estate world. So a lot of the negotiations when you're speaking to somebody off a bridge or, some other terrible circumstance is it's what's called active listening. So the problem I see with realtors is they want to prove themselves right away. But what I did is, I didn't know any better. Can I say fuck? I curse a lot, but
Go ahead.
Fuck, bro. Don't say that on our channel. That's horrible. Sorry, Cody.
I'm just setting the pace in my brain. So what I did was when somebody walked in, I would have very, very keen, active listening. I used all the same skills I did when I would talk to somebody on the street. And what happened was they would tell me what they needed without me actually having to ask. So I would just have a lot of open-ended questions. I would say things like, I can't imagine.
Can we role play like real quick? Just
Let's
to
do
get
it.
like, Cody, we good with the quick role play?
Yeah, like no, this is great. I think that this is well needed, especially in this market.
Yeah, this is listing.
Yeah, let's go.
This is perfect. So I'm a buyer and I just I walked through the house, 4-bed, 3-bath, updated kitchen and the awesomest, most wonderful part of San Antonio.
Awesome. Hey Vic, thank you so much. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, like it's it's a nice house. We could see ourselves possibly living here. Still have some questions about the neighborhood and schools and things like that. But the house itself, the kitchen's gorgeous. My wife and I really love the openness of it, and then the bedrooms upstairs having like a little privacy from the master because that's kind of cool. The kids have a little bit of space to be loud, and we have our space to not hear them screaming in the middle of the night.
Oh, awesome! So you have kids?
Yeah,
I have kids too. What how old are your kids?
We got a 4-year-old going on 43, and we got an 8-year-old that just wants to tell the 4-year-old to shut up all the time.
That's so cool.
And
let me ask. So yeah, I'm sure. So it seems like, because I have kids too. So it seems like neighborhood and area is important to you. Is that correct?
Yeah, totally. Schools are really big. We don't want to pay for private if we don't have to. So we just really want great public. And then walkability is important. Me and my wife, we're really active, bike, run, the whole shebang. So parks, kids running around, the whole shebang. It's really important that we have a good community. Safety.
Awesome. So if you were to have to define community, what does community mean to you?
Wow. That's a great question. I guess when we yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't know if you want to keep going, but
So that's great.
What I'm doing is I am just opening them up. 100% open-ended questions, has nothing to do with the house. And it's time to build rapport, right? In order for you to get somebody to do something that you want, you need to know what is important to them, at least the defined role of who they are and morally what they love.
Right.
And then you can ask, and that only then can you ask a question of some sort of decision making. So that's why anytime I would do an open house, I would even mention, I would say like, what do you think? Just to get them to say something. And then I would take bits and pieces of that.
I love that. And the thing I love the most is like, what would you define as community? I think that ability to kind of like make it super easy for them to answer. Like, we call it sorting, like Serrano calls it sorting questions, and so does Vic. He calls it sorting questions, and then digging deep through asking kind of like a why question. I'm curious when you get through, because I think that a lot of people struggle with this, and I see this specifically on live transfer calls, but I really this happens face to face, belly to belly. When you open somebody up, what is the next step? What should agents be doing? I know you have agents on the ground. What should they be doing in order to book a meeting or in order to follow up with that person that's in the open house? Because there's a lot of people that walk through open houses that don't have representation. So what is your process when you're in an open house to potentially be that representation?
Okay. So one thing that I find agents do a lot, which is super easy fix if you just do this one skill that I'm going to talk about. So a lot of people, I would say the general public, they like to say what's wrong with something, right? So somebody walk through a house and say, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. Or they'll say, I've had this bad experience, this bad experience, this bad experience, right? I mean, that's like the gist of everyday people's kind of, just what they comes out of their mouth if you ask them something or you start a conversation. So a lot of agents say the word, I understand. And that is one word I never, ever, ever fucking say ever. Because when I was a street cop and I said the word, hey man, I understand. And then they looked at me, I'll never forget this, dead in the face and says, you don't understand because you have a fucking job and you have benefits and my family doesn't. Bro, after that, I could have just left and went home and cried. I mean, I was like, you're right, man. I don't understand because I have a job. So from then on, what I feel like the one change that agents can do, just when people are telling them a problem, instead of the I understand, say, I can't imagine. You got beat up by offers. Oh, man, I can't imagine what you and your family are going through. I know it's a tough market, but it's just, I can't even begin to understand what you're going through.
And there's also
so much more
component. There's a huge tonality component. If you guys heard, right? If you guys are watching this on YouTube, Trey just totally leaned in. His body language completely changed. His facial expression completely changed, right? These are the non-verbal communication skills that you learn when you start becoming more proactive. And you just did it naturally. You totally leaned in and you're like, man, I can't even understand. Wow. So those little things people pick up on. And if you say something with the wrong body language, but the right tonality, that's a red flag because we've been trained on what is the right body language and tonality, even if it was informally trained. So I just wanted to point that out real quick.
That's awesome. Yeah, so I can't imagine. Oh, we had a horrible experience, or oh, we got stuck in traffic. Oh man, I can't imagine. I'm sure it's frustrating, trying to find a house and dealing with all the traffic stuff on a Saturday. Yeah, and instead of, oh, I understand. Yeah, I got stuck in the same traffic. But do you really understand? Do you know their life circumstance, or did they get a sick family member? You truly never understand. So I would recommend to agents to stop saying that.
Yeah, that's what another really good phrase you can use is If somebody tells you something like I've had a lot of stress with my current agent, like, like, oh man, yeah, that could be it sounds like that could be like problematic, or man, it sounds like that could be like a really rough patch of what you're going through. Just different language patterns you can use to, instead of saying I understand. Because when you also, the other thing, when you say I understand from a psychological level, you're actually taking away some of the person's pain and some of their ability to share their story fully and authentically with you. Because when you say I understand, the person typically stops talking.
Yep, exactly. Because you cut them off. You said, okay, like, I totally get what you're going to say. You don't have to say anything else. Next subject.
Just like how I cut Cody off.
I'm used to it now. But I think there's like there's totally power in, like, even people listening back to this on iTunes or Spotify. I highly recommend going to YouTube and finding this podcast and watching even Trey's body language, because I think that's super important when you're training your team. Because this is like, I find that I come from a sales training background, and I know that being a good sales trainer, or understanding how to elicit empathy, or understanding how to use tonality, can often be hard to train. Like it's like, it's not, you look at a lot of great salespeople that are great salespeople, but they're not great sales trainers. And this is where a lot of team leads struggle. They try to add agent count, but then they don't know how to actually train the agents, and then their sales team never takes off the way that they want it to take off, because they're not the leader they need to be in order to train that team. You have 3 sales agents. What is your process to get them up to speed, to get them to use very similar tactics that you use in your negotiation process, in your talking to buyers and sellers? Like, what does your training look like when you're working with a team member?
So honestly, it's a lot of one-on-one training. I did put on a class, or this one class a bunch last year, where I would give these communication skills to anybody, any agent that wants to listen in, and how to build rapport faster and more meaningful. Because you think about it, I mean, Sharon said this, that once you start the process, you should have already built the rapport way ahead of time. And it's hard to do at something like an open house. That's why it's so important that every sentence out of your mouth is very, very important. It should be very calculated. Just like, scripts are not for the agent. They are for the consumer to understand your value proposition and what you're trying to do. So for our agents, honestly, it's a lot of, I listen into their phone calls because, when a yard sign or something picks up, and then also I'm at their buyers meetings when I can, and I listen into what they say. So a couple quick little things is, when agents say I'm busy, or I'm at a closing, can I call you back? I'm at an inspection, I call you back. They want to do the right thing and be honest. But what happens is that person fills voids in their head saying like, oh, Cody's too busy for me, or Val is, with another client, and it's the deepest, emotional state that somebody can be in when they're moving into homes. So what I say is, then never say that. You should say, I'm in a meeting, can I call you back? Without the detailed information. And then the word I'm busy, or it was a busy day, does not exist in my team. Busy is not, because busy means your systems are overwhelmed.
That's so good. It's so good. The other thing is that you also set boundaries up front with when you do a buyer consultation or a seller's meeting, you can set boundaries. Like Sharon just posted the video, the preview review, right? So like, on Friday, the way that we communicate with our clients is Friday, we tell you what we did. And then Friday, we tell you what we're going to do the weekend. And then we're going to tell you what we're going to do up until the next Friday. And then if we need anything from you, we'll communicate with you. Like, we'll ask you, we'll reach out to you, we'll talk to you, right? That way you always know what's going on. You always know what we're going to be doing. And you know that, like, we're never not thinking about you. Because what happens is the sellers, right, while you're doing your thing, the sellers will think that you're just completely AWOL. And they're like, well, we haven't heard from you in 4 days. And because it's such an emotional transaction, people aren't rational. They don't think normal. And so, like training that I'm in a meeting versus I'm busy, and people don't need to know. Like, I love the voicemails. You call somebody at 9:00 at night. Hey, thanks for calling, John. I'm either with a client or I'm in a meeting. I'm like, no, you're not. Like that's the stupidest thing you could say. Like,
Dumb. So dumb.
like that's the dumbest shit you can say. Like, I'm in a meet, like we're with the client. No, like, so 8 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock at night, if you don't pick up your phone, you're too busy. Like, it's the same message. You're too busy for me. So I'm going to go call somebody else.
Exactly.
Like, can we pivot a little bit and talk about how you're crushing YouTube?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
How are you crushing?
YouTube's been incredible for our team. So, man, again, I mean, I can't stress this enough for anybody watching. I had 0 followers on any platform, and now YouTube, I think we're over 8,000 subscribers. We never, ever had pushed an ad on YouTube. This is 100% organic growth in the last year and a half.
Nice.
And it's just been being a super fan of my area and purposely niching down to very, very San Antonio things. And it's just been phone call after phone call after phone call.
When you say niche down to very specific things, can you give us an example of that? Because I think that is super important for somebody looking to kind of dominate YouTube or dominate ads or dominate TikTok in their area. Like, what is the content that you're looking to produce? And the second question I have is, like, do you actually enjoy producing the content? Because, like, I know that can be an element of keeping it going.
Yeah, great question. I enjoy the content creating, like just thinking of the ideas, but I don't love the execution part, right? Because execution takes time and edits, and and then you have to post it and all this stuff. So yeah, if that answers that question. And then niching. So like San Antonio, Texas, you think of like the Alamo and the Riverwalk. That's typically what the two things people think of San Antonio. I put out YouTube videos saying like the Riverwalk sucks. Like it's a horrible place. There's homeless everywhere. There's smells like piss. The food sucks. Like, and that's what I talk about. And you will just, it blows up with, man, this guy's awesome. He's so right. The Riverwalk does suck. You should go here. And then when I talk about neighborhoods, I'm so specific in like street names, parks, like local schools, even throw in like a local brewery that's there or something. And expect nobody to watch it but your client, and then everybody watches it.
So, like I've been studying how YouTube is working for agents, and there's a lot of agents now, and Cody and I have talked about this, but there's a lot of agents, Trey, like you, that are with different companies across the board, like no-name companies, like mom and pop independent brokerages to your big national brands, and they are dominating YouTube. And one of the strategies that it sounds like what you're taking by being hyper locally focused is one of the strategies that I heard about that has been working for a lot of people is talk about your city or talk about the neighborhood as if you were relocating into the neighborhood. So just share everything as if it's like your kid, you're brand new in the city, everything's exciting, everything's fresh. Like, where would you go as a mom? Where would you go as a dad? Where would you take the kid? Right? Like, is that kind of like one of your strategies, is how you look at niching down is talking about everything as if you were brand new in the neighborhood?
Yes. That is a huge part of when I started. Okay. So when I started YouTube, I had no idea what to talk about, right? Like I was a freaking cop. Like, so I knew what I wanted to say, but I obviously can't say that because of federal housing and stuff. But then I found articles that said what I was thinking. So then I just did those, right? Be the source of the source. And that worked out really well. But then after I grew somewhat of an audience, so let's say like 500 subscribers, right? That's pretty doable if you're consistent. When I did that, that's when I looked at the comments section. That's where my video ideas come from. A lot of people look at their comment section and just say, oh, cool, engagement. Like, no, stupid ass. Look at them and fucking read it and do what they're telling you. I'll say for the schools, what does this look like? Can I even have people, Trey, on your next video, can you please go over the medical center? Like, and I said, okay, roger that. Because if that person who stumbled, either YouTube put my video in front of them and they clicked the thumbnail, or they actually searched whatever I was talking about, like there are other people that are searching that. So that's where my best videos ideas come from, is the comment section.
I love the controversial topics because you, me and Vikram have seen that even in our own content. The content that we're like, we take kind of a different view than most people. It's like, oh, this is the perfect place to live, or oh, this is the perfect place to do. It's like, it's often in the beliefs that you have. You're like, I'm gonna wave a red flag around this one. I just don't think that's true. It's like that those are the videos that pop up the most. Now, what I'm really interested in when it comes to content, you're doing some TikTok stuff as well. You're saying that YouTube is driving majority of your business, but TikTok's starting to. I think a lot of people, they produce content, they do it for 6 to 9 to 12 months, and they're like, I didn't get any business. This doesn't work. What was your strategy going into creating the content? Because like, I think that there's so many people preaching that, hey, you need to create content, you need to get you need to find some sort of source that drives your business, and every business is different. But what was your strategy going into it? Because like, it's really, for me, it's really interesting that you're doing that. You're all organic, kind of inbound. So what has kind of been your strategy? Was this a short-term plan, or this kind of, you just kind of landed into this?
Yeah. So I did really well on Facebook. That was where my social media leads came from the most. And then I did well. So then once that boat, was stuff going and I knew what kind of content my audience wanted, then that's where the content I put out there. Then I started with Instagram. So then I started putting out content for Instagram, and it was just naturally my followers were more agents than they were the community. So now it was more agent facing content. So then I just stuck to that type of information because that's what Instagram found to be my best audience. And then I went, once I kind of, got some agent referrals and attraction and stuff, then I said, okay, the next thing that I need to tackle and really, really double down on is YouTube, because I saw what, Jeremy Knight, Brad McCullum, Ken Pozak, they were doing amazing things on it and having great businesses. So I said, I just have to do this. And my first 20 videos absolutely sucked. It was the worst of the worst, but the information was just getting better and better. So once I was able to get some data, when I mean data, I just mean the comment section. Like, what were people saying? Locals like, hey, this dumbass got this wrong and this dumbass got that wrong. And they were right, because I wasn't preparing, because I didn't take it as serious. But then I started to take it much more serious and actually do research. And then the floodgates opened with calls and business. Like, these leads are like, hey, I've been watching you for whatever months, and we're pre-approved for 500,000. I'll be there on Friday, and we want to start seeing homes on Saturday. Like, that's the kind of leads we get. I mean, at least a couple times a week.
Well, you're doing your nurturing by creating the content. So people see how you operate, they see how you respond, they feel like they know you. It's why it's hard when you see somebody in a movie and then you see somebody in real life and you're like, wait a minute, you're not this character in the movie. Like, that's how I know you. And now you're like completely different. So when you guys are creating content, and this is what a lot of people don't understand, is that one, it takes time to get the engine rolling. And two, like, at some point, we live in a world where nobody wants the talking head video. They want the personality. They want to see what you're about. They want to feel like, okay, this is what it's going to be like to work with Trey. This is what it's going to be like to work with Vikram or Cody, right? This is real interaction. And so you're nurturing them, and then they show up ready to transact, or, at least ready to sit down with you. And there's a lot of the objections just kind of go away. So I think selling and branding in today's world, it's one and the same. Like with the brand, it's just so much easier. What
and
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, what you guys are doing with the ISAs, I mean, that's just a speed ramp to what I'm doing, right? Because you get somebody in your circle a lot faster than something what I'm doing. It's just the long play per se. So it's like one of the other. What was it? Sticks of one, half a dozen of the other.
Yeah, like, we've always been of the mindset that like everything works. It just all takes time, skill, and volume.
Exactly.
And it's like the content works. Like, we do the content, we do the ISAs, we do the setting, like we do all of it because it all works, and it's all different lead pillars, different lead sources. So I absolutely love what you're doing with YouTube. And like, I think that so many agents that listen to this that really want to make YouTube a priority for 2023 and going into 24, because like literally we're halfway through 2023 now. I think it can be a massive opportunity for them to kind of like talk about their communities like the community is. And on the Lost podcast, we were chatting about like really becoming the mayor of your area. And it's almost like your YouTube videos like make you feel like you're the mayor of the area. It's like, don't go here, because this is better and this is why. So I want to close up with this, like somebody that is considering, because I know that there's always this, the first step is often the hardest. And a lot of people, they have a hard time taking the first step towards creating content. And I personally think it's not because of their fear of like failure. It's more of their fear of being afraid to be seen starting small. When you're first starting out, what advice would you have to that agent that is like, I want to create content, but I'm just not sure? How would you get them to take action?
It's so funny. I laugh because, in the police trainings that I did, it was like, you listen to what I'm telling you or you're going to die. And so like when I came into real estate, or I guess you're less likely to die if you listen to what I'm saying. But in real estate, it's like a lot of these realtors will hear all this great information, all these wonderful minds, and it's like they don't do it. And me personally, I just don't understand that concept. Like I listened to the people that, mentor, or, I was in masterminds and, all the trainings, and I actually did it. And, and now it's working because it worked for them. Right. So like, I don't know how else to say it. It's like, do it or die, well, essentially in business, because if you're not moving forward, you're either still or moving backwards. But I just wanted to real quick about the digital mayor thing. So I know it was like, I think that was a Gary Vee thing or somebody said it, but I don't believe you should be a digital mayor, because mayors are political and they're not always as organic as they should be. I think people should be a citizen of their town, where it's open, honest, and a lot more hyper local. Because if you document being a citizen, that's what people want to see. People want to see like what schools suck, what coffee shops, are overrated, what areas, and like documenting yourself as a citizen is way better than being a mayor.
We all know in local towns, the areas that suck, just no one wants to talk about them. And it's like, finally, somebody who is honest about that, you shouldn't move in this neighborhood. That's super brave. And I appreciate you, Trey. If somebody were to want to reach out and they were to want to have a conversation, maybe it's an agent referral, maybe they want to talk to you about real, maybe they want to have a conversation with you about what you're doing in the real estate space, where's the best place that we can direct them in order to have a conversation with you?
Honestly, Instagram. Instagram is probably the best DMing thing. Just go, just type my name on Instagram. I'm the only Trey Serrano in San Antonio. So, or Facebook, I guess, if you're over the age of 40.
Vikram, go to Facebook, my man. Go to Facebook.
Cody, go back to your diapers. Go back to your diapers. Go get your bottle. Where is your mom doing your laundry for you, Cody?
Hey, go spend some time on Facebook, Vikram. But Trey, from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you. We really appreciated your time today, and I want to say thank you guys, man. I want to say thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. I want to say thank you for tuning into another episode of the RE Agent Podcast, the #1 real estate podcast in the world. We'll see you soon.